Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to TradeBlocked. Thanks for joining us. One of the great shows underneath the Club Fantasy umbrella here. You'll find out all about these other great shows at the end of the show, so stay tuned to listen into that. We have got a great one here for you this evening, talking Jameson Williams, who has had an interesting few days here. And before we start talking about all that, I've got to introduce my co-hosts. Directly below me, we've got the Joel Wirth. Joel, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yes, and to my left, stage left, screen right, my other co-host, Hoov. How are you doing, Hoov?
What is up, BEA beautiful people out there? How we doing? We got a great episode tonight. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. So let's get to it. I'm ready.
Yeah. The man known as Jamo, coming out of college, had quite the pedigree, and I think we can all agree, had he not had that ACL injury, probably would have been one of the top players off the board in that draft, but fell a little bit because of the injury. Went to the Lions, got suspended that first year for a dumb gambling thing. I don't agree with it personally. He wasn't even betting on football, so what's the big deal? Only because he was on company grounds. Got injured, very slow start. Even coming back from that ACL, started to pop off this year a little bit. We finally see some flashes. And then we find out after just an abysmal performance on Sunday of -4 yards, gets hit with a 2-game suspension for some undetermined PED use at this point of us going live. So an up and down start to his career. But Hoov, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling about Jamo here, short term, long term?
I like to take the high ground when it comes to players and valuation and whatnot, and try not to be a hater. But a Parks and Rec meme that I saw this week, it reminded me. Sometimes I tell people to take the high ground because then the low road, there's more room for me at the low road. So to me, I was thinking about this before the show, and I was thinking, okay, what is up with Jameson Williams? So why is it always him? Why is it like the Lions, the outside looking in, look at the Lions, this culture is so great, and they have everything on lock. What is it with Jameson Williams? And you know what? Maybe it is just the Jameson Williams issue. Maybe it is the fact that this culture is so good, and that he can see the abundance of talent around him. And not to be a hater or anything, but if he has to overcompensate with these PEDs, and he's constantly getting into issues with the gambling and stuff like that, I feel like he's overcompensating, and he sees people like Amon-Ra St. Brown in building, or even how Jared Goff is playing, and maybe he knows deep down he's not that kind of player, so he feels like he has to overcompensate. I'm not trying to be a hater. That's just brutal honesty, because I love Jameson Williams coming out of the draft, and I thought that he was going to be this awesome receiver for the Lions, and I just been completely disappointed, but at the same time you found more reasons to believe in him. And of course it's the year that, you're finally seeing some talent out of him, but I am completely off on Jameson Williams. And looking at some players around him, it's really hard to sell me on him when I know that there's other options, or I could probably find another Jameson Williams in next year's draft class, or even in 2026. So I think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Joel?
And how do you feel about Mr. Williams here?
I am going to be a hater. This dude's a freaking knucklehead, and I'm done. I'm out. I've been out. I was in, and then I was out, and then I had to get back in, and now I'm out. I'm done. The gambling suspension, the PED suspension, whatever it's for. If it's for a masking agent, I don't care. It doesn't matter. This dude he's too stupid to play football. So I can't trust him anymore. I don't care. And even if he does, even if he gets his shit together, what's his up? He's a situational deep threat. It's not worth the hassle. I'm done. I'm out. Have fun. Do whatever steroids you want to do. Go home. Go back to Alabama. Go back to Ohio State. I don't care. I'm done with him.
Oh my God! See, I thought I was.
I'm
being
glad
critical.
I'm glad I have very few shares because I'd be pissed that I hadn't moved him by now if I did.
That's crazy. He said,
Yeah, the one share I had of him, because I was all in on him coming out of college, regardless of the injury. I was like, this guy, I'll take him because he's going to slide a little bit in the draft, and I'll just gobble up that value. And then after that first year, Joel and I agree. I think he understands football. He's good at football, but I think he just doesn't have it between the ears just to stay on the field and make right decisions for his career. And yeah, I'm glad I still sold high when I was able to get recoup most of the value I'd spent on him in the draft after that first year. So, but yeah, I agree. I think he's just one of those guys that doesn't get it. But he's going to get plenty of chances just because he has that pedigree and has that talent. But Hoov, where are we seeing him as his current value out there?
All right, so on our partners over at Dynasty Nerds, our fabulous partners over at Dynasty Nerds. I don't care about their Brian Thomas Jr. take this week. They're still great. No scrutiny out of me. They're still brilliant people, even though there might have been a little bit of issue with the Brian Thomas Jr. part. That's it. But they're great people. They're great at what they do. And they have at wide receiver 33, they have Jameson Williams, and Sleeper has them currently at wide receiver 49. That is a big gap that we see. Most of the time when we evaluate players, we don't see that big of a gap. So I will ask the question, you guys, can you justify that big of a gap? Even as someone that we're probably off on Jameson Williams, wide receiver 49, that seems pretty deep.
Go ahead, Joel.
I'm pretty sure I could name 48 guys off the top of my head by the end of the show. I'd rather have. So yeah, it doesn't bother. I'm just out. I'm out. I don't care. I don't want him.
Hayden Manning over here. What about you, Dustin?
Yeah, 49 seems a little low, but 33 seems also a little high for me. So I'd probably split it, closer to that 40 range, maybe split the difference a little bit. But that's where I stand with them.
I mean, from what we're seeing this season, he had a wide receiver 5 week 1 finish. But other than that, you're seeing back end wide receiver 2. He's, in my opinion, he's probably one of the guys that you're looking at as like a wide receiver 3 finish. And even then, maybe you can talk yourself into some other guys that you see around that tier as well. But so I guess wide receiver 33 seems a little bit low, but wide receiver 49 definitely feels low in a dynasty landscape. I probably wouldn't let him fall past that, but I guess we'll take a look at some of the players around him. All right.
Rubber meets the road.
Okay. 5 wide receivers currently going above Jameson Williams. On Dynasty Nerds, we got Zay Flowers at wide receiver 28, George Pickens at wide receiver 29, Deebo Samuel at wide receiver 30, Tank Dell at wide receiver 31, and Chris Godwin at wide receiver 32. Are you taking Jameson Williams over any of these guys?
No.
I made a tweet the other day, and it's not necessarily because of Chris Godwin, but I think that next year we are going to get such a big difference in value in ADP in a lot of guys. And it's not necessarily Chris Godwin. I'm thinking just like guys like Anthony Richardson not performing or Dalton Kincaid not performing. And then even some of the guys that are like, they're coming off of these injuries like Chris Godwin and Nico Collins and Brandon Ayuk and Rashee Rice. Like when they get added back, like no one's going to really know like how to factor him in amongst the rest of this ADP. So next year is going to be crazy. So like all these guys for sure are probably going to end up going above Jameson Williams just because we can see that big tier gap. But I'm really kind of interested on where these guys all shake up by next year. I think that it's going to be crazy. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they'll I mean, you also have the new class of rookies coming in that's gonna, help shake things up a little bit. But yeah, I think just due to the injuries, like you're saying, Hoov, I think it will be interesting to see how things shake out this off season.
Not like you just want
to
like go in
to go.
Yeah, it's not like you just
There's
want to
a
go
lot-
in and buy all these guys that are coming off these injuries and whatnot. But I really am interested to see like where big accounts are starting to value these guys.
There's a lot of unknowns with these guys, right? I mean, it's like Debo, is he still going to be with the Niners? We assumed he was going to be gone, but now that Ayuk's coming off a bad ACL, do they bring him back? Pickens, who's going to be his quarterback? Godwin, Godwin's a free agent. I mean, he should be, the dislocated ankle shouldn't drag into next year, but he's a free agent. He could be somewhere else. So there's a lot of unknowns with these guys, but I would still easily take them all above Jameson Williams. Easy.
Maybe this is terrible advice, but I'm just going to throw it out there anyway. So for the lighthearted out there, I think that this would be a great year, a great off season. That if people really wanted to like refresh their old dynasty teams that they've had for years on end, and maybe do like a keeper league for this year and start over, I think that this might be a good year, because next year it is so hard to evaluate players. Like keep 5 that you are locked in, and then start it all over again, baby. I don't know. That's just my idea. Maybe some people will take it up, but it's going to be really hard to evaluate some of these guys next offseason for sure. The rest of this year is kind of easier.
I thought you were going to say this is the time, especially if you have a non-competitive team and looking to do like a little mini rebuild, go trade for some of these more elite wide receivers that got injured this year and get the discount on them. Like Nico or Godwin here, and retool your team that way.
Everyone should be doing that. I mean, that is great advice. I feel like we touch that every episode of TradeBlocked at the end when we're talking about these guys that are when we're breaking down value on some of these guys, like last week with Jalen Waddle. You're trying to look at longevity when you're not contending. So this is an easy year that no one knows what the future is going to hold. So maybe start looking towards the future, even further. So, okay. Let's look at 5 wide receivers currently going below Jameson Williams on Dynasty Nerds. We got Jordan Addison at wide receiver 34, Terry McLaurin at wide receiver 35, Devontae Adams, new New York Jet, wide receiver 36, Xavier Legette, wide receiver 37, and returning to the field, Ricky Pearsall at wide receiver 38. Now, this is where things get a little more interesting, in my opinion. How are you feeling about these guys? Are you taking any of them over Jameson Williams? Joel?
Go ahead, Joel. No. Go ahead, Joel. I'll let you speak first.
I don't love this group, but I don't want anything to do with Jameson Williams, so I'm taking all these guys. I'm just going to be consistent. I'm taking all these guys ahead of him. I can make a case to take any of these guys ahead of him, yes.
I just can't believe Xavier Legette has made his way into that tier, like right behind Devontae Adams of all people. Like, sure, Terry McLaurin's getting older, but he's putting up good numbers right now.
I mean, how is Pearsall in this group when he's never? I mean, he's played like.
It's a good point as well.
One half of the game.
That's a good point as well. But when you think about when he comes in, like Brandon Ayuk is gone for the rest of the season, he's walking into clear opportunity right there with the Niners, and that's probably still going to be a playoff team. I love my team, but we're struggling right now, and a lot of the finger needs to be pointed at Kyle, and I'm really worried about what Kyle is gonna, how he is gonna feed all these people when they all come back. So to your point earlier, I don't know if Debo is going to be back next year, but Purcell the rest of the year he might be pretty good. I'm a little worried longevity wise about him, but Terry McLaurin's probably one guy I feel good about taking right now. Jordan Addison probably for sure. But the rest of the guys, yeah, I guess I'd take Devontae and ride him out the rest of the way as well. But if I'm going to take a shot on Jameson or Ricky, just because of the suspension, maybe you could talk me into Ricky as well. But that's how low I am on like Jameson and Ricky. Like it's worth a shot for Ricky, but I've already taken how many shots on Jameson too. So,
yeah, I would pretty easily take Addison, Adams, and McLaurin over him. I'd probably take the other two as well, although you could probably convince me in the right situation maybe to take Williams just for the on-field talent that he has. Maybe take that chance, but I'm pretty low on him as well. So I mean, I'd probably take all five of these guys up ahead of him. But like I said, case could be made for Leggett and Pearsall.
That's a good way to put it. There's a 5 notable mentions that we have. I have a few that are going above him, and then a few are going below him. There's one name that's definitely you're going to be taking above of Jameson Williams right now, but the rest of I honestly think that they're up for consideration right now. 5 notable mentions: Michael Pittman at wide receiver 25, Brian Thomas Jr. at wide receiver 26, Mike Evans, wide receiver 41, Cooper Kupp at wide receiver 42, Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 43, and Josh Downs at wide receiver 46. So looking at some of these other options that you have, I mean, I wanted to throw Michael Pittman in there and I put Brian Thomas in there just so you could see the difference in how close they are with how Brian Thomas has looked versus how Jameson Williams has looked, and how you could easily go after someone like Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit earlier and like just have the sense of security. But the rest of the guys, I think that this actually brings a really good point. Like Josh Downs at wide receiver 46, you know that you're taking Josh Downs over Jameson Williams every time, as long as Anthony Richardson's not on the field. So how are you feeling about some of these guys right now? I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I'd probably take all these guys over Williams. Even with Evans and Cooper Kupp, getting up there in age. I mean, Evans, all he does is when he's healthy is just puts up yards and touchdowns every freaking game. And I'd be perfectly happy in riding him on my squad until he retires. Same with Kupp. I mean, he's going to produce. He's going to be coming back here pretty shortly, and he's going to be outproducing what Jameson Williams does. So give me pretty much all these guys. Maybe Diggs would be the only one, but even him, I'd be fine with.
Yeah. So I think that's important for the viewers out there to see, is that in this ranking that they have at Dynasty Nerds, Jameson Williams is completely overvalued, like very overvalued. So make sure that you're not trying to buy into that, and stay clear of it. So let's look at Sleeper. Maybe seeing some of these names, maybe we can tuck ourselves into it, because there is a big tier gap between Sleeper and Dynasty Nerds. So 5 wide receivers we have above Jameson on Sleeper. We got Xavier Leggett at wide receiver 44, Christian Watson at wide receiver 45, Adonai Mitchell at wide receiver 46, Hollywood Brown at wide receiver 47, and Ricky Pearsall once again at wide receiver 48. So people are seeing similarities between Ricky Pearsall and Jameson Williams. It's worth a shot. Jameson Williams, some people it's still worth a shot. Are you taking a shot on Jameson Williams over any of these guys still? Joel?
No. I'd rather, like, Adonai Mitchell's struggling to get on the field, but I think there's some. It sounds like from the Colts side, it's like they just don't trust him to run routes when he's not the target, is my understanding. So he can only get on the field when the play is going to him. But I think they like him enough that I think that they want to develop him. So I kind of want to, I don't want to just bail on him yet, even though he kind of fits the profile of a guy I would be ready to bail on. But I think there's some kind of background noise there that we kind of need to pay attention to. I was looking at Christian Watson. Like, as much as people want to shit on Christian Watson, compare his numbers to Jameson Williams. There's no comparison. He's like twice as his stats are like twice as good. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Hollywood Brown should be fine next year. What's the difference between Hollywood Brown and Jameson Williams, except Hollywood Brown is on the field more? I mean, imagine saying that, comparing Hollywood Brown to anyone, that he's on the field more. It doesn't even make sense. So, I'm taking all these guys ahead of him.
Some people may not like it, but I feel like Christian Watson and Jameson Williams are the same player. You know, like Jameson Williams had a lot more hype and a lot more talent coming out of the draft, but when they're on the field, they can put up great numbers, and they can also put up duds too. But they have the opportunity that they can pop off any given moment. So I Ironically, I think I just talked myself back into Christian Watson looking at this. But A.D. Mitchell, I loved A.D. Mitchell and I loved Anthony Richardson. But as the weeks go by, I am getting more and more skeptical of Anthony Richardson long term. And so that also plays a factor with A.D. Mitchell, is because I felt like they drafted him to like complement Anthony Richardson a lot. So if I'm worried about Anthony Richardson, I have to be worried about A.D. Mitchell. And so I guess I would probably still do an A.D. Mitchell trade if I had a Jameson Williams share, but I'd want like a third with A.D. Mitchell. Just that close. It's that close. But that's probably Christian Watson, and then questionable about Ricky Purcell. Or, I'd probably think Ricky Purcell, actually. Those are the only two names that really are standing out right here. Anything to add?
Yeah, I don't know that I would take Williams over any of these guys as well. That's give me the upside, the potential upside for these players and being on the field every week than what Williams is going to do. I mean, I just don't trust him to get it together at this point.
I mean, the question becomes when you're evaluating these guys is A, can they stay on the field? Because Jameson Williams cannot through fault of his own, let's say. And then can they be more than situational deep threats? And I think the answer to all these guys is yes. And I mean, we don't know if they can stay on the field, but I think they all have better potential to be more than situational deep threats.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, let's look at the 5 wide receivers currently going below him. See if any of these names stand out. Not the most glamorous names, but that's all right. We'll do them anyways. 5 wide receivers currently going below Williams on sleeper: Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 50; Troy Franklin, wide receiver 51; Josh Downs, wide receiver 52; DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 53; and Romeo Doubs at wide receiver 54. Ironically, looking back at this, these names are producing a little bit more than we actually expected this season. So, are you taking any of these guys over Jameson Williams right now, long term?
I think Troy Franklin. We found the line. It's Troy Franklin.
That's right.
How is Troy Franklin ranked ahead of Downs and Dobbs? That's insane.
I know.
Even Hopkins. I guess Hopkins and Franklin, like those are the two that's like, those are the outlier. I'd take Dobbs. I'd take Downs. I'd take Johnson.
If you put D-Hop on a team with an actual quarterback, I would still take him over Jameson Williams. Troy Franklin's probably the line. I'm not. Yeah, I have 0 interest in Troy Franklin. So that's the line.
I'm really kind of shocked. If DeAndre Hopkins goes to Kansas City, for example, there's going to be a lot of interest. But long-term wise, like, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, and then Jameson Williams comes back from suspension and then pops off, and then all of a sudden I'd rather have DeAndre Hopkins, who's probably going to retire by the end of, if not this year, next year. This depreciating talent. So I think I'd still take Jameson Williams over him, but like I'd still look elsewhere for Jameson Williams to trade him. I wouldn't just settle with DeAndre Hopkins. No.
I mean, the question, I think you hit it. The question becomes, what can you do with these guys? And right now you cannot move Jameson Williams for anything. So like if DeAndre Hopkins is traded or something happens with Tennessee's quarterback situation, yeah, I can move him for something valuable. I'm stuck with Jameson Williams.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I traded Jameson Williams with a pick for JSN in the offseason. So I'm feeling damn good about that right now. Absolutely, baby.
Or just clip out that Dynasty Nerds ranking of 33 for Jameson Williams and plaster that on your league chat saying, hey, this is where he's valued, folks. Come get him. Maybe you'll get a bite. Maybe.
I'm reading the comment section right here, right now, and we got Joe in the chat. We got Scampers in the chat. First, Joe, I wanted to bring this up. My Dynasty team, I'm rolling out Reed, Worthy, and Coleman as my top 3 wide receivers at 5-2. I'm scoring big on their high weeks, but just enough to win when they have low weeks.
Respect.
Yeah. That's where things are at right now, and I'm not happy about it. Like, I don't think anyone's really like loves setting their lineups right now. And
Exactly.
you'd think that the numbers are bigger than ever right now for us with all these questions like, who am I going to start? No, you'd think so, but people are honestly like, that's what kind of stinks. Reality check, people. Let's talk about it. Let's have a sit down. Is when people, the consensus, normal people, not weirdos like us that do this all the time, is like when all these big name players start going down, people start checking out earlier and earlier and stop checking their lineup. I won in my home league because someone didn't take Rashid Shaheed out of their starting lineup. That's where things are at. And honestly, I hope everyone is enjoying what they can out of this season. It's not been great about fantasy, but we appreciate everyone that has checked out and has come here every week and continued to support fantasy in spite of all the craziness this season. So that's been something on my mind the last few weeks, is that the people that are sticking through to us and they're coming in every week, we really do appreciate you, because there's a lot of reason to not want to show up and not want to do it anymore because there's all this craziness, but we appreciate you anyways. So, all right.
100%.
Now that Sappy Hour is done, let's get back to it. five notable mentions on Sleeper that we have. Ladd McConkey at wide receiver 34, Keon Coleman wide receiver 35, Amari Cooper at wide receiver 38, Terry McLaurin at wide receiver 39, and Chris Godwin at wide receiver 42. So even some of these older guys like Amari Cooper, that's probably the name that I want to focus on here. Ladd McConkey, you're probably going to take a shot on Ladd McConkey or even Keon Coleman right now with Josh Allen. But Amari Cooper is the name that I kind of want to focus on. We kind of know what we're going to get out of Amari Cooper with Josh Allen the rest of the season. He's going to be figuring out the offense. It might look a little wonky in the meantime, but he's probably going to be a good fantasy asset, especially since, like we just talked about, all these wide receivers are going down. So the more wide receivers that go down, the higher the finish that Amari Cooper possibly could have with Josh Allen. How are we feeling about Amari Cooper right now as a depreciating talent, much like DeAndre Hopkins versus Jameson Williams?
I'm okay with Amari Cooper. If he's like my wide receiver, well, ideally like my wide receiver 3 on my squad, but as a wide receiver 2, I'm okay with that. He's probably gonna have a rough couple weeks here getting integrated into this offense, and when they find the actual spot for him, but they wouldn't have traded for him if they didn't have an idea of what they wanted and how they were going to use him. So I have faith that he will be plenty involved by our fantasy playoff run for sure this season. And he's been a little volatile over the years, but I mean, look at the quarterbacks he's had to play with. It's not like he's had the who's who of all-time greats. So I mean, you get an upgrading quarterback at Josh Allen. I think you're going to see some good things for the next couple seasons as long as he's sticking around in Buffalo there.
That while you were talking, this idea just popped in my head because the Amari Cooper, this veteran quarterback going into this contending team, and with it being a Jameson Williams episode, how long do you think the Lions are actually going to hold on to Jameson Williams throughout all this stuff and all this chaos? And we're hearing a name like Cooper Kupp get thrown out at the trade deadline. I remember even the Lions being interested in, people were throwing out the idea of Brandon Ayuk going there in the offseason, or even a few other free agents going there and lowering Jameson Williams on the totem pole. What do you think about Cooper Kupp going to the Lions and helping them in the playoff push?
He's redundant without him.
I hate it.
But as a fantasy owner, how do you feel about it?
He's redundant. They've got a better version of Cooper Kupp. They don't need him. I mean, where's he going to run his routes? You've got Laporta and Amon-Ra running routes in the seam and in the middle of the field in the intermediate area. Where is he going to run his routes? It's too crowded. It doesn't make sense.
That's a fair point. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. You know, like there's a few names. What about DeAndre Hopkins? What if they went after DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, I mean
Lions.
that's
probably better.
That makes more sense. He can replace. He's a better version of Jameson Williams. So yeah, that makes sense.
I like that a lot better. DeAndre Hopkins, the Lions. What do you guys think about that? Drop a comment down below. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. But we got plenty of trades today. We got a lot of good trades today about Jameson Williams. And I know that that's why everyone is here, because that is the most exciting part about this show. I promise you that. Let's get some trade ideas out there for all the viewers. First one. You guys ready? Build a suspense. Okay, boom. Superflex, full PPR, Jameson Williams, or a 2025 first. You taking that 2025 first and running with it?
God, yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Absolutely.
I want to know where you're at. Okay, lower.
I'm putting on a Santa hat and saying Merry Christmas to me.
All right, lower and lower. Jameson Williams or 2 seconds?
Picks.
Pick the picks.
Would you go? Would you go 1 second?
I'd rather the pick.
Already? You're that low on Jameson Williams?
Here, just bring up Joe's comment at the bottom of the chat. Bring that up real quick. I want to bring up a point here that needs to be made. He's only out 2 games, correct? If he gets hit again, it's a minimum 5-game suspension up to a year. If he gets hit a third time, he's done career-wise. This is a massive risk for the rest of his career. If he gets popped for anything, whether it's his fault or not, you're talking minimum a third of a season up to a full season. It's not just that he's only out for 2 games. It's that he's at a massive risk of a significant suspension for the rest of his career.
Haterade's got a point. I mean, I'm more worried about it in the sense that you've been hearing whispers beforehand, and with the only reason why I think it's kind of a stretch is that the Lions are a team that it doesn't seem like they're a big team that likes to bring outsiders in. They like to build from within and like develop the culture. Yeah. And so, but I think that they're about to get to the point with his bullshit is that they're going to like make an exception and bring in an outsider. And you're looking around the league at some of these guys that like definitely can help get you over the hump. Like a guy like DeAndre Hopkins could definitely be a replacement, even if you already have Jameson. Like, I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud, but like I liked Jahan Dotson, okay, and so it's almost like I hate saying it. Don't make me say it again, please, okay? And so this is
believe me, I won't.
It's just I'm getting red in the face because I don't like saying it. It's so gross, but like you almost think about it is like if a team genuinely thinks that they're better off without that player being a part of it, just get rid of them. And so they wouldn't. I don't think that they get rid of him. Like there's not much of a market for him coming off this suspension at the trade deadline. But I think that we're definitely looking at a time like where Jameson Williams is going to get replaced this offseason, if anything, in Detroit. Kind of the same issue that I had with Ladd McConkey is like, yeah, you kind of knew that he was going to have an opportunity to be something without them having a true wide receiver 1. But the minute that they trade for a wide receiver 1, his value is gone in that offense. So I'm kind of worried about Jameson Williams in that sense. Like,
I mean, if you think about it, this is the 3rd year of his rookie deal. So he's clearly not getting a 5th-year option picked up. That's not happening. No chance. So he's going to be a free agent after next season. I mean, Dan Campbell can talk and say, all the good things about we're going to support him, blah, blah, blah. He's got to be as fed up with this guy as anyone.
Right.
I mean, just couldn't get back from the injury in his rookie year, the gambling suspension. Now this, I mean, he's got to be absolutely seething inside.
Yeah, so, I mean, as his fantasy manager, I was livid, so I can't imagine.
Right.
I can't imagine.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't think he has a place on this team going forward. I don't think they want to put him in a position where they have to trust him.
No, I'm Joe says Campbell will straighten him out.
I mean, if anyone can, it's him. But I mean, how many how many things does he need to be straightened out on before we get to the end of the line here? I mean, that's the question. It's one thing after another. It's every year he's been in the league, it's been something else.
There's one thing that I've realized the more and more that I've been around football is that every time I go to Canada, it kind of like I remember it, is that being a part of the NFL is a luxury. Like, there's only so many people that get this luxury of being in the NFL. Stop fucking up. Like, oh, we're gonna get demonetized for this episode, but you gotta learn when there is a line, because there's always someone coming to take your opportunity. It's the truth. And like, you have to learn from your mistakes. I'm 25 years old. He's 23. Like, I'm not saying I'm 2 years of maturity. I still have a lot way to grow in life as well. And so like, you gotta learn to figure it out at a certain point. Like, I don't know. That's just it. Because, you know, you can get another opportunity and you see people that have all the talent in the world, you know, and all the injuries in the world, and they keep messing up and they keep getting opportunities. And like, you can't keep holding out on that, because there's people like Kadarius Toney that are burning it for everybody. So like, you just gotta learn to figure it out, man.
Kadarius Toney's on a practice squad.
Yeah, eventually people are gonna stop dealing with this kind of stuff, and they're just gonna get over it, regardless of the talent. They're just gonna want.
Williams he's a better player than Kadarius Toney. He's a better player than John Ross, but he's on that career path right now.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised with the way that college football is developing and the way that they're able to like develop players, is that they're like the players that are like dealing with all these like off the field issues and stuff that they're still like developing and whatnot. I could see the NFL just being like, you know what, if you're that good, just show me an XFL and I'll sign you to my practice squad down the road. And like, that's where things are going to go for players that can't figure it out. So I really hope that he can, you know, get his career back on the right track. Fantasy wise, I'm not going to tell people that it's a good idea to invest in him, but to each their own, I guess.
I would love, I mean, just for the kid, I would love to see him get his act together. Like, I loved him as a prospect. I would love to see him get his stuff together and become a good player. I cannot trust that as a fantasy player, fantasy manager, I cannot trust that that's going to happen at this point. So I'm out. If you can do it, awesome. Good for you. I'm happy for you, but I'm not going to wait for you.
Yeah, I agree. If it happens, I'll be cheering them on and saying, yeah, this is awesome. Like, good for you. But yeah, I'm not going to wait around and hold on to him on my roster just as like maybe in 3 years he'll get it figured out and have a resurrected second half of his career, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's do another one. Super flex, full PPR, Jameson Williams or Keon Coleman? We're looking long term. You ready to move off of Keon Coleman?
I want Coleman. Easy.
No. Yeah. Give me Coleman.
What would be the picks? I want to hear this. Would a second with Jameson Williams get you a Keon Coleman if you were still interested?
Yeah, because I don't think Keon Coleman's worth much more than a second right now. So you give me a second, and but I think Dustin brings up a good point. Is that this guy? There's the potential this guy's just wasting a roster spot on you. That he's just dead weight on your roster. So, yeah, I mean, I'm willing to take the chance at that point and hope that he can come back and, you know, spike a few games and I can try and trade him. But
that would be the move.
I wasn't expecting this episode. I really wasn't. I thought that you guys are going to be like a little bit higher, and now I have to kind of adjust the trades as we go. But we're going to figure it out, baby. All right. Let's do another one. We talk about this player a lot. I want to see if you guys actually can do it. All right, Jameson Williams or Christian Watson? An abundance of good receivers in Green Bay. Same kind of player, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams.
It's easy, Watson. Watson's playing. Like I said, you can compare their numbers. I mean, the Watson out. I mean, they came in the same draft class. And Watson's crushing him statistically, even though he's not that great, but he's crushing Jameson Williams.
Would a third be the difference here?
Third doesn't matter to me. I doesn't
for the viewers' sakes. For the viewers' sakes, people that care about.
I would rather have Watson over Jameson Williams in a third.
Yeah, same.
Let's talk about someone that I've been big on this offseason, but people are slowly turning themselves on, and he doesn't have the greatest name value in the world. Jameson Williams or Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson, quiet, top 10, top 20 wide receiver the first few weeks of the season.
If I'm contending, I want Wan'Dale because he's playing. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I guess give me Wan'Dale. If he has another few spike weeks, maybe you can trade him for something slight tier up from that.
Daniel Jones can't throw the ball more than 15 yards down the field, and that's where Wan'Dale Robinson runs. So, yeah, he's going to keep getting double-digit targets. So, yeah, if I'm playing for this year, I want Wan'Dale Robinson because he's playing.
I'm learning so much this episode. I really am. I feel like I'm on. I'm like a kid watching PBS again. Like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Big Bird's right.
Yeah, before we hit your next trade here, Hoov, we got a trade in the chat here.
Beautiful.
Would you do Jamo for Kincaid? And this is a Superflex full point PPR.
I would do Kincaid in a heartbeat.
I am the nation's premier Dalton Kincaid hater, and I would still take him over Jamo.
Yeah,
respect.
Yeah, we are all in agreement on this one. So thanks, Sean, for dropping that question in the chat. Anyone else have questions? Be sure you drop them in there. We'll be sure to answer them for you. Right, Skippy?
All right. Oh, okay. Well, I guess this one's next then. Full PPR, Jameson Williams and a 2025 first or T. Higgins.
Again, if I'm playing for this year, I want Higgins. If I'm contending, then give me the first. But I mean, yeah, Jameson Williams is a good throw-in in this deal because that's what he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would take Higgins. Definitely Higgins on this one. But I think, as Joel said, Williams kind of balances out the value per se. But give me Higgins. I'm a big believer.
Joshy Poo, when you're going back and you're clipping everything. All right, I'm gonna talk to the behind the scenes people right for a second. When you're going back and you're clipping this, I want you to focus on this trade for the viewers out there. That this is the ideal Jameson Williams trade right here. That if you want to get rid of Jameson Williams, you attach your 2025 first and you trade him for T. Higgins with a heartbeat. So Josh, right here, okay, talking to you, baby. All right, next one. Ooh, let's do it. Let's do it first on this one. I feel like that's probably more appropriate. Jameson Williams in a 2025 first or Brandon Ayuk?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. Give me the first. Because Ayuk's probably going to miss time next year, so it sounds like a bad ACL with additional injuries. So he's probably not coming back until around this time next year. So yeah, give me the first.
I'm leaning Ayuk. He's still young. Yeah, you may not have him for the start of the season, but I love his talent. I love the team. They just signed him, so they want him there. He's going to be involved. So give me the known quantity there in Ayuk.
I told you this is the section, Josh, right here. Two ideal Jameson Williams trades. Brandon Ayuk. I think it's so close for me. But I would probably stick with Brandon Ayuk and ride it out. Fully healthy, I believe Brandon Ayuk can be a 1,300-yard receiver. Wasn't showing it this year, goddamn it, but I know he's got it in him. He can do it. I'm not in love with the 2025 draft class. If it was 2026 draft class, I might be more interested. But give me Brandon Ayuk in this one.
All right, we got another.
I think this trade is a good idea.
Here.
I don't trade happen in practice.
What'd you say? You cut out. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I said I think this is probably a fair, kind of interesting offer. I just don't know how this trade happens in practice because if you're contending and you want to move off Brandon Ayuk for something, Jameson Williams isn't the guy you want to get back. You want to get someone who's playing and producing. And if you're not contending, you don't want to be giving up a first plus a piece for Brandon Ayuk. So this trade just isn't happening in real life.
But it's happening on the show, and that's all that matters right now. And so, all right, let's move on to Justin. Do you have anything else to add?
Not on this, but we do have another trade question in the chat I'd like to throw out there. This one comes from Discord from Mini Moneymaker. Thoughts on this trade? My BTJ and Cup for Justin Jefferson.
If it's redraft, I don't hate it, actually. If it's Dynasty, I think you can get more. I see Cup as too much of a depreciating talent to get that first that you probably want. But in redraft, I could probably go down for this.
Yeah, they go on to say it is redraft.
You got it. Now I'm here for it.
I want Jefferson either way. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, give me Jefferson for the rest of this year for redraft as well.
BTJ is a dog.
He is.
He's looking really good. Looking real good.
Here's a real story for all the viewers out there, and it's so funny because it's so true. I was wearing these glasses when I was at the draft, and we were the first event that we had. It was outdoors. I was freezing cold. I had my parka on, and Renee was there, and we were just freezing, just standing outside in Detroit weather in like April or whatever draft was. And so like I love BTJ coming into the draft, and I was like hyping him up so much, and I'm like, oh my god, there's BTJ. And so I was like looking over at him, and I swear he was mean mugging me so hard, and I'm like, dude, like you don't even know, like I love you. I love you. And so I'm like, why are you mean mugging me, man? So I think that's where like I definitely separated Rome Odunze and Brian Thomas Jr. after that day, but I love BTJ. And so I'm glad he's living up before I actually got to see him.
Yeah. So
love BTJ though.
Follow-up question: do you think that I can get him, the Justin Jefferson, or am I just throwing out this trade for nothing? Is that a reasonable trade? The BTJ and Cup trading for Jefferson,
for sure.
No, I don't think it's I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, especially right now, the fact that there's so many limited wide receivers with all these injuries and whatnot. Like, this is actually the time that someone might be able to pull off that kind of trade and redraft for Justin Jefferson. So I don't hate it. I think that it's pretty fair, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's totally fair. So,
anything else in the comment section?
That's it for now.
Okay, beautiful. So let's look at another one, a player that's coming back very, very soon from injury. Jameson Williams, a 2026 second and a 2025 first, or Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua. I'm going to say it as many times until it's not fun to say anymore.
I guess I would take the Williams pick side.
This is a lot for Puka Nacua.
Yeah, I'm thinking I would almost take the first and the second for Puka. So, yeah, I don't think this is a very reflective Jameson Williams trade because he's just kind of a throw in there.
Okay. What if it was just that? That's ugly. Let's fix that. Okay. That. All right. What about Jameson Williams in it first for Puka? Where are we at with that?
I'll take Puka.
Yeah, Puka.
All right. So, viewers out there, if you want to move Jameson Williams for Puka Nacua, you can see that the second right there is the difference maker. So, maybe start out with a trade like this. Maybe the guy or the manager is a big Jameson Williams fan, and maybe they take it without the second attached to it. But you do know, if you add that second, there's probably a good consensus that would take that trade for Puka Nacua. So keep that in mind for all the viewers out there. My dog has an itch and is banging over there. So if you hear a woodchuck or like some kind of noise, that's what it is. Thanks, Bear. Appreciate it. All right. One more. Jameson Williams and his 2025 first, or Garrett Wilson a 2025 second and 2026 second.
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, give me the Wilson side.
Because I'm at the point where I want to get Garrett Wilson for a 2025 first, and I'm trying to get it. I didn't actually do my homework of last week and send out those offers, but I'm going to do it. I promise. It's going to be submitted late, just like in high school. But 2 seconds.
Do it on the bus.
That's right. Right on the bus. So this trade actually it's probably fair, just because the first and the second for Garrett Wilson is probably what you're going to get for him. I'm trying to get him at a discount right now without the second attached to it. But the 2026 second is pretty close with Jameson Williams, between people wanting to give up on him or not. So this trade in reason is probably pretty fair.
I mean, if you break it down, we said we would easily take 2 seconds over Jamo, so you cross them out, and then it's Garrett Wilson in the first. I'd rather have Garrett Wilson. So, yeah, I mean, when you break it down, it's pretty easily Wilson in the 2 seconds for me.
It's probably Wilson for like a first and a second, which would like even it out there, and then like a second for Jameson. So it's probably even.
Yeah, I think if you flip one of those seconds to the other side, it probably makes more sense.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe we could do that. Last one. 2 underperforming players. So this is going to be really interesting. All right. Let's do a wide receiver for a running back. Full PPR. Jameson Williams or Travis Etienne.
Oh.
That's so gross.
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. All right. Who do you want? Travis Etienne, Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
I guess I would take ETN here, just hoping that he maybe comes back and has a couple different game or a couple good games, and that maybe this was just like a little mini slump, or he was in the doghouse or something, and then trade him away as soon as he pops off for a true believer for ETN.
Joel.
This is so gross.
Yeah, it is. It's so gross.
Oh God, I would have to take. Just on principle, I have to take Jameson Williams over Etienne.
Hell no. We are taking Travis Etienne, and I think we need to do it as a unit, because it's really gross. It's really gross. I can't even do it with a straight face, but like, I'm gonna do what everyone else does. I'm gonna like stand by my pick, and then I'm just gonna hope he gets traded. So maybe we're gonna hope for Travis Etienne to get traded at the trade deadline or something. But Travis Etienne, there's not many running backs that are serviceable, and I don't want to say he's serviceable right now because he's not looking great. But
I was gonna say, if you made this Tank Bigsby, I'd smash Tank Bigsby.
Pause, but absolutely. So, what a great show. We knocked out all these trades. We talked about our fabulous partners over at Dynasty Nerds. And I think Dustin's going to tell you all about our fabulous partners over at Dynasty Nerds, aren't you?
I will, but I'm going to address one more question in the chat here before I do that. This comes from Joe. What QB could I target with Jamo?
Deshaun Watson.
I'll add.
That's the only hating comment you're getting out of me tonight. I promise. I'm taking the high road. To be real, maybe you could get like Will Levis is hating. If I say Will Levis is hating, if I say Daniel Jones is hating, I'm trying to think like, you're not going to get anyone that's like great for Jameson Williams. It's going to be someone that's like a low end quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it comes down to, is it single QB or super flex? If it's super flex, you're going to be lucky to get anyone with a job. If it's single QB, you could probably get like a Geno Smith or something like that, somebody with a short shelf life. But it just really depends on the format.
We'll say super flex.
Let's just go for Derek Carr and throw up, Derek Carr, and you don't feel great about it, but you got an extra quarterback. What about that?
Yeah, with Carr being hurt, I think that makes sense. I think I think you could probably get more than Levis, but yeah, Daniel Jones, I think, like you said, is probably somebody with a job at the bottom of the barrel.
You need a man with a job. That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're gonna be lucky to get someone who's got a job right now for Jameson Williams. So yeah, I think Daniel Jones is probably about it in Superflex.
That's gross. That's so gross. Yeah. I hate giving Daniel Jones advice.
Maybe, what about Darnold? You might be maybe Darnold.
I'm not doing that either. I can't. I'm not there yet. Like, as great as he looks, I give him flowers, but I can't do it. I'm not there.
I don't know if you could get Darnold from the general manager for Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they've held on, they probably want a second for him. So are you getting a second for Jameson Williams? Probably not.
It's come to this. It's come to this point with Darnold. We need.
He's gonna have a job next year, dude. He's gonna have a job somewhere next year.
Like New York, maybe.
He's gonna have a job. Right. He's gonna be a starter somewhere.
I don't like this.
You don't have to like it.
I need like a warm shower or something to, like cool me off. Oh my God. That's just not, I couldn't do that. I think as much as I don't like holding on to my Jameson Williams shares, it's nothing personal with Darnold. It just, I don't want to bank on him being my QB3, like, just because I know that I'm gonna quickly be in that cycle looking for another QB3 within another year and a half or so, and I don't want to do it. I just want to have it be over and done with. Like, was it a bad idea for me to invest in Will Levis as my QB3 in one of my leagues? Absolutely, but like, I don't want to fall in that same boat with Darnold where he goes to the Giants after this year and he plays that whole year until they draft a quarterback in 2026. Like, I just can't see Darnold being a Geno Smith kind of player that he comes back and just like holds all this value and holds a starting job for a long time. I just can't see it. He looks good.
Never know.
Great, but I can't see it.
Never know. All right. Well, that's a good spot to end it, I think, here. I will do our ad read from our wonderful sponsor over at Dynasty Nerds. Do you want to take your Dynasty team to a championship? Do you want to stack championships for years to come? Of course. Then you need to hear about Club Fantasy's newest partnership, Dynasty Nerds. Dynasty Nerds is one of the most trusted sources for both Dynasty advice and Dynasty tools. Their Nerd Score helps identify rookies with high ceilings and longevity to keep you in contention for years. And if what you're looking for is film on incoming rookies, then look no further than their all-22 film room. They even have a Dynasty trade calculator that can help you find values throughout the season and better understand how to value players across an ever-changing landscape. And these are just a few of the tools that they offer. Head to dynastynerds.com and see for yourself. Choose from one of their subscription plans, and at checkout, enter the code CLUBFANTASY, one word, to save 15% off your subscription. Once again, go to dynastynerds.com, use the promo code CLUBFANTASY, get 15% off, and start taking your teams to the championships today. Ooh, we did it.
That was beautiful. But that's not the only
partner. It was a great show.
We got a lot of partners, a lot of people that we talked to over here at Club Fantasy, and we got our fantastic partners over at TrophySmack. So it's not draft season anymore, but for next year, you're going to need your draft boards. You're going to need your championship rings for the end of the season. You're going to need all the bling and all the rings for your fantasy championships. So make sure you head on over to TrophySmack.com/WAF and start shopping. Our sister brand over at Women of Fantasy. They do a great job with their partnership with TrophySmack. And make sure you go get a belt, much like Joel has right there. They do a great job. Our girl Kelly is over there kicking ass, taking names over at TrophySmack. And we hope that you all, go out and get yourself a belt. Might not be the greatest thing at the end of the year, is holding a belt that says I was the healthiest team all year, but you can really
championship's a championship.
A championship is a championship, but this year I think we could have a lot of fun with the last place, like who had the lowest scoring team at the end of the season. Like they're gonna go out there, they're gonna have to wear their silly hats. They're gonna have to wear all that merch. So I'm excited for at the end of the season to see all the things that TrophySmack has to offer. So make sure you guys go out and buy something from TrophySmack. All right, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. And while you're out checking out our great sponsors and buying some stuff here, make sure that you are checking out Club Fantasy on Twitter at Club Fantasy FFL and the Women of Fantasy Football at Women of _FF. And make sure that you're subscribing to Club Fantasy on YouTube and checking out all the great shows under our umbrella here. On Mondays, we've got the Monday Hangxiety. Tuesday, you got Wiretapped and TradeBlocked. With us three handsome gentlemen. On Wednesday mornings, you've got the Who's Your Caddy Golf DFS show. Wednesday nights, it's the flagship show of No Pun Intended. On Thursdays, the Dynasty After Party. On Fridays, the Masterclass DFS show. And on Saturday, it's the Start Sit Different Day to get all your start sit decisions made here before Sunday kickoff. So make sure you're checking out all that. Make sure you're following my partners in crime here on Twitter, Hoov at HoovTube, Joel at the Joel Wirth, and if you so choose, follow me at FF Dusty Dog. Gentlemen, it was a great show. Had a lot of fun talking Jamo this week, and good luck to everyone with your fantasy squads this week. And we'll see you all next Tuesday. My bad, Tuesday.